Okay. Councillor Lister, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the response about school data that we received via email. I can see that we and the context provided around the Education Regulations 2018. That said, the legislation clearly states that school governing bodies and local authorities retain access to their own data alongside national level data to support self-evaluation and improvement. This suggests that such data internally remains both permitted and expected. So we also have a duty under the Local Government Measure 2011, which underpins our role in scrutiny and holding services to account, and the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act 2015, which requires us to ensure that public services are improving. So I think that we could have access to some data, and on the Forward Work programme, it would be helpful to have sight of that data and to inform our decision making.
I'm going to ask the Chief Officer, Claire, to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Lister. I think, I have been very clear in the committee that we are not in a position to be creating league tables of comparative data around school performance. There are other ways in which we provide this committee with assurance about the standards in our schools, the principal document being our annual self-evaluation report. And of course, all of our schools, when they go through the inspection process with Estin, have their reports published, in that domain. We are bringing a report to you before the end of this academic year on the work of the School Performance Monitoring Group, which again will go into more detail about how we support particular schools where issues have been identified. So, I have to reiterate what I have said before. We will not be bringing tables of comparing school X with school Y, in this public arena. The data is there for school improvement purposes. I can assure the committee that obviously schools have their own data, which they review as part of their self-evaluation processes. There are then those individual conversations at a school level. Obviously, that information is shared with the governing body. It will obviously feature in schools' annual, information on performance will be shared by schools, in their annual reports. There are conversations between the head teacher then and the school improvement advisors, currently GWER, obviously soon to be part of the local authority team. And the purpose of that conversation then is to together identify that the schools are appropriately identifying the right priorities for their improvement, and the role of the local authority then is to provide any additional support to enable them to achieve those improvement priorities, which obviously will all be focused on improving standards for learners. So I am confident that within the guidance we are using the data at the appropriate time in the appropriate environment. And we have, with the regional service, held to the legislative guidance provided by the Welsh Government. So I'm more than happy to have an individual meeting with any member of the committee who would like to explore that in more depth. As I did report at the last committee meeting, Welsh Government are reconsidering the use of national data sets. I mean, let's remember, data collection was suspended during COVID completely. We then had some interim measures at Key Stage 4, and they were interim. We are going through a process of national change in terms of GCSE examinations. So the landscape is still quite challenging. And the difficulty is, we are not going to be comparing apples with apples. And data, any set of data, is only a snapshot of a period of time. And the school improvement guidance is very clear that schools, need to look at a whole range of data and evidence in terms of determining, where a school's strengths and areas for development are then, and obviously in how they will prioritise those improvements going forward. So the Senedd Committee, Children and Young People's Committee, has undertaken a consultation to ask for views on the data landscape in Wales. And I know it is something the Cabinet Secretary for Education is considering, and again is discussing with Cabinet Members for Education, Directors of Education, in terms of, that national data set. I think there's all an acknowledgement that perhaps, the reason the decision was made to only use that data at a school level was because inevitably, when there were league tables published, then sadly, in some quarters, then there was game playing in terms of, how qualifications were, accessed or whatever, that C borderline issue. And unfortunately for some learners, that was not helpful in terms of ensuring that they secured the best outcome. So that's where the decision was taken at the time. But there has been, I think, a recognition over time that not having nationally agreed data sets doesn't help the Welsh Government at a national level. It doesn't help everybody within the system, obviously, to be confident about the standards of education, either nationally, regionally or locally. So that conversation, particularly now with the changes to the school improvement models, is live, and we are hoping that we may get a steer from Welsh Government soon in terms of looking at what are the consistent national data sets that are available and then how they should be used. So that is very much a live discussion at the moment.